Greetings, lover of monotonous narration of Wikipedia articles accompanied by slowly moving images. Today, I will tell you about 5 prohibited weapons around the world. Let's start with some of the most well-known knives in the world, the stiletto. Italy is considered the homeland of the stiletto, but folding stilettos gained the greatest fame as an attribute of representatives of the Italian mafia, particularly in the United States. Italian immigrants in America, especially representatives of criminal structures such as Cosa Nostra, carried such shivs of Italian production with them, while there were strict restrictions on cold weapons in the USA. Hence, a folding automatic knife was convenient, which could be easily hidden in a pocket and at the same time instantly brought into readiness. Of course, this association began to be actively promoted in cinema, and the knife gained immense popularity among various representatives of the criminal world as well as among ordinary thugs. A lot of operated automatic stilettos ended up in the hands of Americans in the post-war years, when US soldiers returning from Europe brought them back as souvenirs. As is often the case, knives associated with the criminal world fall under prohibition. In 1958, the United States took the step to ban the import of automatic knives. Another significant argument for the prohibition of stilettos was that the majority of switchblades produced in the US were well suited for everyday purposes. In this regard, Italian stilettos were markedly different, being primarily effective for inflicting deep, penetrating wounds. In terms of everyday use, Italian stilettos were practically useless. It was precisely this characteristic of Italian automatic stilettos that lawmakers emphasized when considering the bill to ban such knives. Next on our list is an item familiar to all football fans, namely the collapsible baton. Telescopic batons essentially have a construction similar to a sailor's telescope, but instead of a lens, there is a bludgeon at the other end that can easily crack a skull. The history of the emergence of this weapon traces back to special services. Even if you take an ordinary police officer, carrying a large baton is not always convenient. So the folks in the government scratched their heads and came up with a baton that, when assembled, is not much larger than the handle of an umbrella. As a result, the fame of this device spread to various criminal formations, and later ordinary people began to acquire such batons as a means of self-defense. At first glance, a deployed baton may not look very threatening, but in reality, the telescopic baton provides a significant advantage even against a more massive opponent. This is because most of the kinetic energy during a strike is concentrated at the tip of the baton, resulting in strikes that inflict maximum possible damage compared to a punch with a hand. As a result, the device gained popularity, was classified as impact weaponry, and eventually started getting banned in various countries. All ninjas or Bruce Lee enthusiasts definitely know our next prohibited weapon, as it is nunchucks. You might wonder how one can ban 2 sticks and a rope. It turns out it's possible. The history is quite simple. According to one version, in ancient times, ordinary people supposedly had nothing but sticks at hand in terms of weapons. Moreover, with these sticks, sometimes the recoil from a strike could cause just as much harm to yourself as to your opponent due to the feedback into the hand during a strike. As a result, the stick was simply divided into 2 parts, so that the recoil from a strike could be dampened by that rope or chain. Of course, in theory, you could make something like this at home or somewhere in the countryside. However, there's a little problem. In the territories of many countries, practically all nunchucks are classified as cold weapons of impact disintegrating action. Consequently, manufacturing and selling nunchucks are prohibited because they are considered cold weapons. So one needs to be careful here. You might inadvertently tie 2 sticks with a rope, and suddenly you're already a criminal. While using them for training purposes in some martial arts is allowed, manufacturing them yourself and just carrying them on the street is not permitted. Next, the brass knuckles. The brass knuckles are a type of cold weapon with a crushing effect, the first mentions of which date back to the oldest civilizations. In India, Mesopotamia, and even Europe, people actively used various types of metal products to strengthen their impact. Someone simply bent an iron rod around their arm, sharpened one end, and used such a primitive brass knuckle. In Europe, they reinforced combat gloves with overlays. In any case, everyone understood that the fist needed to be strengthened and protected. As time went on, technologies improved, and familiar cast brass knuckles began to appear in the early 19th century. This type of weapon was used by everyone, noting its effectiveness and ease of concealment under clothing or in any pocket. With the help of this little friend, bandits, drunks, and adventurers broke each other's noses, jaws, and ribs. Mostly, brass knuckles were used by all layers of criminality. In essence, this weapon is the best argument in a fist fight. It is quite easy to predict the impact of a brass knuckles on the body. It should be noted that using brass knuckles requires a certain skill, as it is quite easy to break a hand or fingers when striking. That's why people in the 19th and 20th centuries were cautious about using them. A punch without gloves can break the bones of the jaw, and imagine the damage a heavy metal object can cause. The same goes for organs, as it is very easy to rupture the spleen or other organs with a skillful and targeted strike. The downside of a knuckle duster is that for its lethal impact, a direct hit must be delivered, that is, one must come very close. And in the presence of other cold weapons, a knuckle duster is not the best protection. Although, of course, it depends on the skills. The presence of knuckle dusters has been the cause of weapon-related crimes and cases of violence, so they are prohibited for possession by ordinary citizens. Knuckle dusters are easy to hide and carry covertly, making them dangerous to others. In the hands of an unauthorized possessor, a knuckle duster can be used to attack other people. That's why knuckle dusters have been banned in most countries. Last on our list will be the well-known knife. The Jag Commando is a famous special forces unit of the Austrian Armed Forces, as well as a no less famous single-strike knife. The design of the Jag Commando was created by Anthony Marfione, a renowned master of weapons, creator of many world-famous blades, and owner of Microtech knives. Creating the design of the Jag Commando knife, Tony did not try in vain. The result turned out to be beyond praise. The design turned out to be unusual, attracting attention. After all, it is not simple. Otherwise, Jag Commando is called the tri-dagger knife. The blade of the Jag Commando has 3 razor-sharp cutting edges twisted into a point. This shape is intended for easy penetration into the body and inflicting the greatest harm to the victim. It is enough to simply twist the knife in the wound, and it will turn into a jagged, bloody mess. Jag Commando knife was banned by the Geneva Convention just because this spiraling dagger would leave a wound that would be almost impossible to stitch up. They are illegal to use in war, which if used would be a war crime. Owning it isn't illegal in most locations, such as the USA, minus California, of course. What do you think about this? Write in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you liked this video.